Hello there, it's Simon again for video 2. Hopefully I come across a bit more confident this time as I've done a couple of trial videos and various other bits and pieces with what I'm doing now. I'm training and getting lots of training information. So yeah, life's a lot more fun than it was 12 months ago. But anyway, a little bit about the history. I worked for 43 years. I worked in the healthcare industry. I worked for the ambulance service on frontline work, did PTS as well, which is where I started many moons ago when Sussex Ambulance existed before CCAM. I've since then I've done various other jobs. I got into sales to earn a bit more extra money. I worked for the AA as a sales manager, which was really good. Eon before that as a sales manager. And then went back to frontline ambulance just before COVID started, worked through that. Unfortunately, became a little bit ill with long-term COVID, breathing problems, that kind of thing. But we got through it. Unfortunately others didn't, but we did. Left with a little bit of PTSD, but we can cope with that with help from counselling and stuff like that, which obviously I have undergone to try and deal with it. And started again recently because of what's gone on in the last 12 months. But that's, part of life. And, if you are suffering, then it's definitely worth talking to someone and trying to sort it out. It's not for everybody, but it certainly does work for me. So having come out of the ambulance service in COVID, I trying to work out what I could do where it wasn't a physical job anymore like I had before. So my uncle used to tell me, go and drive a bus. That's what he did for about 35, 40 years. So I went and did my bus license, passed my driving license with them, went through all the training, felt like going back to school again after many moons ago, because I passed my driving test when I was just a mere age of 17. So yes, it took me a long way to think back what it was like then, but obviously things have changed, and obviously a bus is far different to a car. And of course you do theory now, which you never used to do. It used to be one test and then you do a few questions from a book at the end of it, show you a few signs, and that was it. But now we do things like hazard perception and a lot more questions, even basic repairs and maintenance, that kind of stuff. So I managed to get through that, did the test all around Hastings, up and down the hills, through the potholes, rattled the bus around, managed to do that. So then I got a job which was in Eastbourne, driving around Eastbourne and up to Tunbridge Wells and Crowborough and things like that. I left there for a coach company, and as my luck was going at the time, 2 days in they were taken over by another company. Stayed there for a little while and then went back onto their buses, which was better for me at the time. And from there I decided I preferred the coach line. The coaches is where I felt more comfortable. It was more customer service, which is what I used to with previous jobs and helping people on and off the coach and things like that. So it was more me, as I thought. So I applied for a coach job up in Kent, which was not too far from where I live at the time. So I joined the coach company, and then I was only there 2 days, unfortunately. Did a couple of school trips, and on the way back my feet decided that they were going to go quite numb, and my legs. I'd have numbness in my feet before previously a few times, but nothing was like it was then. It was to the point where I couldn't feel the pedals, and I felt this is not really what I should be doing, driving a coach. I was down to drive a coach from Kent to London the following day and decided I needed to get some kind of clarification what's going on. I phoned Claire, my wife, on the way home from work, and I was struggling to even feel the pedals in the car, but I knew I had to get home. When I got home, it was decided perhaps I need to go to A&E and get a check just to see, nothing serious going on. Anyway, a few checks, and down there for about 4 hours, they decided it was peripheral neuropathy, which is a bit of a mouthful, but basically it's numbness in the legs through bad circulation and electrical conductivity. And for me to go and see my GP and, go from there. Obviously, at the time, I thought that's all it was, but over a period of time, it gradually got worse, to the point where I didn't do the job the next day. I stayed at home sick. The reason being my feet were still numb. I was getting pains. My fingers were going numb and whatever. So it was, pick up the phone, talk to the GP, see if I can get an appointment, which in this day and age is not always easy. But I did get one about 3 or 4 days later, which was, quicker than I thought I was going to get. But anyway, it was done and dusted. So I went to the doctors, went through lots of questions and answers. I just said, look, what can I do? The usual thing with the doctors, they're very limited. They are only general practitioner, not specialists. So after going through all my questions, he said that I need to refer you to a neurologist. It's obviously something neuro, which is affecting your limbs. And in the meantime, I can give you some pain relief and see how that goes. And we'll put it in a referral for you and get you looked at by a neurologist. So at that time I thought, right, okay, once we started, he also arranged for me to have some blood tests, which again was trying to eliminate anything else that the hospital hadn't sort of missed or anything. Little did I know that was the start of my medical journey for over a year. And the medical journey went on and on and on. I had blood test after blood tests. At the time I was also diagnosed with diabetes, so they thought at the time that maybe diabetes is called caused the peripheral neuropathy. Is something that can be caused, but that's usually over long term, having diabetes. But mine was fairly new and I was only just over the limit. So they also put me on Mounjaro, difficult word to say, especially when you've got teeth like I've got. Basically, so what they do, they put me on Mounjaro, and I must say I've lost over 4 stone in the time I've been on it. And the good news coming out from that as well is I'm no longer diabetic. I took myself well out the window. Obviously the food intake's gone down, and I'm also thinking of the healthy side of food, so that's made a big difference. So life changed quite good on the weight front, but the symptoms have gradually got worse to the point where I walk with a stick sometimes because my mobility is not as good as it should be. And it's just a little bit of debilitating. But the most awkward thing of all, it's the mental health, not being able to work. So I've had to then go and look, what jobs can I do? I thought, well, I resigned from my job straight away because I'd been there 2 days and I hadn't actually signed a contract. So when I spoke to them, they were, saying, well, there's no point coming back. You haven't got a contract and you're not going to be any good for us if you can't drive, which obviously I wasn't going to take that risk with like 70, 80 kids in the back. Who wants that on the shoulders if I, couldn't brake properly? So I left it at that. So anyway, as anyone would, we've got bills to pay. So I scrolled through all the job ads, went on Indeed and all the other sites that are online that you can actually look at and see whether there's anything you can do with limited mobility, something where you perhaps even do part-time. But unfortunately, there was nothing. I've done care work, I've done nursing, there's plenty of ads for those. But I can't stand for long time a day, as much as I can't sit down for a long time in the day. I need something where I'm a bit up and down or whatever. Care work's a lot of heavy lifting, stuff like that. I can't do that anymore because of the long-term COVID symptoms are still there, as well as my legs and hands and feet not working properly. So it got to the point of the 2nd or 3rd doctor's visit, I had to sign off sick, and then go through that lovely process of trying to find benefits that would work for my condition, which at that point was undiagnosed. I'm still going through loads and loads of checks. So mental health, I can't work, got no money coming in. Poor Claire's working all the hours under the sun, doing extra hours, trying to make sure that we've got all of our bills covered, which again, with one good income gone and one good income still in place, but nothing else coming in, it was, what do we do next? So it was phone round Citizens Advice Bureau, financial advisors, etc., to find out exactly what I can claim, what I can't claim. Unfortunately, there's not a lot in my situation at the time I could claim. If I was employed, it would only be the benefits that you get for being off sick. So that wasn't a lot. So I managed to get myself ESA, which is only allowed for a year, and I'm coming up to my final year. Then that income has gone. I'm still not able to work, although I've just set up an opportunity. I haven't actually started earning money and working at it yet. So I've got until the end of next week, and then that's it. I'm going to be doing this business and making it take off, which is beginning to go really good, to be fair. So as you can imagine, being unwell, not able to work, not earning any money, with seeing Claire going through what she's going through, the stress and strains of work, not having enough sleep and doing everything she can to keep, her head above water. Benefits, I only qualified for ESA. Yes, I did get the lowest level of PIP. That's not going to last forever. Hopefully I will get better anyway, and when, at some point with a formal diagnosis. So life got very, very tense to the point where we started bickering at home, because obviously when you've got no money and you can't, do things, that doesn't really bode well. Unfortunately, over a period of time, we realised that the income coming in through Claire's wages doesn't cover everything. To the point it got very, very stressful. We had to tell our landlords that at that point we couldn't pay all the rent. At which point, a little bit further down the road, they decided that, okay, you can't pay the rent, so we're going to have to let you go and release you into the big wide world and make you homeless, which, we saw their point, we saw our point. You don't envisage seeing these things happen. I took one of my pensions out early just to pay some bills so we could survive, but again, it wasn't a massive amount because it wasn't a very big pension, unfortunately. But wise words, easy in hindsight. Yes, I probably should have invested more in pensions when I was younger. But when you've got a young family, the struggles are there. You think the money's better now than it is later. The trouble is, for the jobs I was doing within healthcare, am I going to reach the pension age? And then you see people, not making pension age. My philosophy was, if you've got it, enjoy it, because you never know, whoever the next day's, well, this day's your last. But you shouldn't think like that. But when you've seen what I've seen through my career, then it does make you think a little bit about that. Hence the reason why I enjoy what I do every day, because you don't know whether it is your last. Sounds negative, but it's also positive, because it makes you that person. It makes you feel like you want to enjoy every day and be at your happiest. Always smiling, always joking, and just having a bit of fun where you can. So anyway, the health has not really improved. It got to the point where my mental health was at its lowest. Yes, I didn't want to be on the planet anymore. Yes, I didn't want to be a burden to Claire. I couldn't see a future. So I had to sort of consider what was going to be my next plan. But at the particular time, I couldn't really walk, struggling to take the dogs out, struggling to do anything. Mental health deteriorated, didn't want to go out and meet people anyway. So that really is the next stage of the story. There's a lot more to come, which I want to sort of break down in little parts as we go along. But yeah, we got to the point where they did give us an eviction notice, and that's where the next part of the story will start in the next video.